The 2025 college football season is here, and Brent Venables shows he's still willing to change.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Thank you for joining us. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Check out his channel for more college football and Oklahoma Sooners content. I'm John Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners at SoonersWire.com. And on today's show, we're going to talk Josh Pate's record prediction for the Oklahoma Sooners. Maybe sleeping on Oklahoma still, even though he's been very complimentary. We'll get into that in the third segment. We're also going to talk about what the SEC is going to do with Oklahoma's schedule now that they're going to a 9-game conference slate. Is Oklahoma going to get screwed again? We'll discuss that in the second segment, but we got to start here. Brent Venables, for the first 3 years of his time at Oklahoma, had been adamant about this idea of promoting and developing leadership. So he would have weekly captains, giving players the opportunity to be the leader each week. Fans were not always on board with this idea. It seems like, again, Brent Venables, who has shown that he's willing to evolve and willing to change things up as he grows as a head coach, is changing things up once again. Here we have a season captaincy for 7 players on the Oklahoma Sooners.
I'm actually impressed that BV decided to make that change. Like, that's one thing that, a lot of fans, a lot of us have kind of pushed back on, because for some, they feel like it's like a participation trophy. For me, I understood the aspect of doing leadership, teaching everybody you want to grow leaders. And the fastest way to grow leaders is to throw them in a leadership position and make them kind of like basically sink or swim type deal, and make them understand that there is a microscope on them. So I didn't have an issue with it, but at the same time, for a lot of fans, I to be honest, I'm actually curious, John, what is the problem? Why do people want to have just one set of captains? Do they want to see like the same players go out to, like midfield and do the coin toss? Like, I don't get that part, to be honest.
I think you hit on it early in what you were saying, in that people felt like it was a participation trophy. I get where Brent Venables was coming from. I also understand that whether you're a weekly captain or not, whether you're a seasonal captain or not, you know who the leaders on the team are. Whether, one guy is running out there 1 week as a captain, that doesn't mean that a guy that's not running out there is not a leader. At the same time, this, I think, clarifies some things a little bit. Whereas they used to identify the season-long captains at the end of the season, they're doing it week 1. But again, you look back to that 2023 season where they had weekly captains. Who were the leaders on that team? Pretty clearly, you could say Dylan Gabriel, Danny Stutsman, Ethan Downs.
It was typically the same people. Yeah, right. You for the most part, knew who the captains were. Right. Like, you knew who the captains were. I guess for me, it was more of a, like I said, I get where BV was coming from with this. It made sense to say, hey, you're going to be a captain based upon your work this week. Like, each week it was awarded to players based upon their performance for said week. And that's how, like I said, developing those leaderships or whatnot. But I guess at the same time, I can understand fans wanting to have one person identified as the leaders or whatnot. So I get it. But again, as you mentioned, John, Brent Venables has shown that he's willing to adapt and change and, make adjustments. And that one big adjustment he just recently made is we're going to have now 7 captains for the rest of the season, which that'll be intriguing to see. I mean, it's funny to see that it's 5 defensive players and then it's the quarterback and his center. So it's kind of funny to see that as the combination, but at the same time, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
Who on offense was you going to give it to with so much, I guess you could say, change in a lot of the skill spots, and then bringing a new running back? It's got to be a quarterback, but there wasn't as many players, I guess you could say, this year that you would probably thrust into that role. The question is, who's going to potentially get it next year?
Yeah, so just to run it down real quick, John Mateer, Troy Everett on offense, and then on defense, you have Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton, Robert Spears-Jennings, R. Mason Thomas, and Kip Lewis. All guys you expected to step up and be leaders on this team. Yep. If anything, maybe there's some guys that you might throw out there. You know, a guy like a Kobe McKenzie, even though he's going to be the mic, he's going to be the guy signaling the defense on the field. He's not really played a ton. He's not been a starter before. Guys like have. You know, you look on the offensive side of the ball, the only name that I could think of that you might include otherwise would have been a Febechi Wiwu or a Javonte.
That's true.
But some of it is, a lot of this happens naturally. It happens organically. You find out who the leaders are on your team by who the players gravitate to, who they listen to, who they look up to. And so it's not surprising. I mean, you've heard the offensive line sing praises of Troy Everett all offseason. That's a dude that everybody's been looking up to and speaking about, and what he's done to help get this offensive line on the right page, on the same page this offseason, right, with all the extra film work they've done. Ben Arbuckle spoke about how the offensive line spent more time in the film room than anybody else this offseason. And that's not by accident. That doesn't just happen. It takes somebody stepping up and saying, hey, we got to go put in the extra work if we're going to want to improve upon what happened last year.
Yeah, and you've got a group of players that are doing that. You know, John Mateer is spending time with the offensive line, watching film together, talking about the playbook, which he knows that he is the guy that has to do a lot of the additional leading in that capacity, because he's the one that knows the book, and he knows and has a strong idea and understanding of where his players need to be, especially since he's the only person that's actually played in the system. But he's also doing that with the wide receivers, picking them up, going to the training room or whatnot. And so, but I think that the players that they picked were the perfect ones for this situation. You got all the veterans. Just about everybody on there is going to potentially be gone at the end of this season. And so you feel like it's kind of the, you know, when senior day hits, you know, that's when everybody's going to be all excited about it. But it was good choices. I like all seven. Actually, now I think about it, I don't even think there's anybody else I probably would have added besides possibly Deion Burks. He's probably the only person that I think I probably would have added. Maybe Javonte Barnes, but I do think that they did a good job with the selection that they had.
Yeah, I think they hit the nail on the head. Again, Javonte Barnes would have been a name I would have considered. Gentry Williams would have been a name I considered, because a lot of people have talked about how important he's been in a leadership role, even though he hasn't really been able to play much the last couple of years.
Right.
Again, players look up to him. They gravitate toward him. He's been encouraging. He's been, you know, really talking up his secondary in the cornerback room. So again, a lot of this happens organically and naturally. And what was it that I think BB said it was something last week, but they had so many players receive like more than 8 votes it was to be a captain. And I think that speaks volumes of the leadership that you have, not just the guys that were elected captains, but a number of players have that potential and have the opportunity to be guys that could be a captain next year, like you talked about. So is there a player that you have in your mind that you think will step up and be considered a captain next year?
Oh, Jaden Jackson is on my list of names. Yeah. I'm thinking it depends. And it's actually something me and my boy Coop was talking about not too long ago. Peyton Bowen, does he come back one more year? If he comes back and plays another year, he's definitely on that list of people that would most likely end up being a captain. Looking on the offensive line, you're it's gonna
be kind of young.
Maybe it's getting young. We're getting a lot younger. Michael Hawkins, of course, would be on that list. You're getting very young on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, you'll still be more veteran. You're probably maybe a Reggie Powers,
RP3,
maybe a Jaden Hardy. Yeah, linebacker wise, I mean, that's even more. I anticipate probably Kobe McKenzie being back next year, so probably Kobe's maybe that dude. Yeah, we're starting to hit that age where we don't have a whole bunch of veterans. So we're going to be pretty young next season based upon the way this timeline's going.
So what you're telling me is 2025 is the year. There's only one thing really left to do. They got to go win the whole thing.
Get the whole thing in, man. Because next year is going to be a lot of young players with some basically ready to leave. But 27 could be a big year, because that's when, if everybody comes back or majority of the players come back, most of your bigger name players, Stone, Jackson, your interior guys, Okoye, Adebaware, Taylor Wine, a lot of them will all be seniors or either seniors or redshirt seniors. So that's 27. It's going to be interesting. 26 is going to be a very interesting year.
And Fasusi and Foje will be juniors. 27.
So yeah, you have your offensive line.
We'll see.
Yeah, Eddie Pierre-Louis will be a senior.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got to go through that pretty soon. So, but
the future is bright. But you got to go win games in 25 before we can start talking about 2026, 2027.
Yep.
So the 9-game SEC schedules come out. What is this going to mean for Oklahoma, not just in 2026 with their permanent opponents, but long-term with how the schedule breaks down? We'll discuss coming up next year on Locked On Sooners.
Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. So you can even go and read real customer reviews on the website, which is awesome. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moments. And if the traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be that answer, because over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege and use code Locked On College to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege and use promo code Locked On College for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety effectiveness or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. You can also scan the QR code on your screen if you're watching along with us here on YouTube. So, Jay, the 9-game league schedule is coming in 2026. There's been a lot of discussion about who the 3 permanent opponents are going to be for the Oklahoma Sooners. I know you've had your opinion on it, and if people haven't heard it, go ahead and just share who you would like to see as Oklahoma's 3 permanent opponents and who you think it will be.
Yeah, great job on the video. You dropped it. I thought it was very intriguing that we got that on the Friday news dump. Basically, late Friday night news dump.
Can I drop a theory on this real quick?
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Yes, it was a late Friday night or Friday afternoon news dump. Or was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday.
Maybe Thursday night.
Regardless.
It was a news dump.
Week 0 happened. Who did not play a game in week 0? The SEC. Who dominated a lot of the talking points over the weekend? The SEC. Greg Sankey, well done by you and your marketing crew. to carry the news cycle for an entire weekend in which you did not play college football. As you were.
Yep, no games. So yes, it was Thursday at 4 p.m. So it was a late Thursday dump as everybody was trying to focus their mind on Ireland. Very good job of being in the news cycle and talking through that, especially after the CSC gave the guidance.
Yep.
Or no, it was the playoff committee that gave their guidance on how they're going to change things. Yeah. So it was fascinating that all of this came when it did. Right, this could have been a great announcement for a Monday as we prepare for this week. But like you said, it no longer dominates the news cycle. Everybody's kind of got what they were going to say out of their system, and it's basically now old news for the most part. To me, I'm hoping that, as you even mentioned, and I talked about it even in the short, that if you watched Locked On SEC or even the video that we played here on the channel, I'm hoping that we get to build a new type of rival while also having something in driving distance. Because to me, regional rivalries are important. I feel like that is really the essence of college football. That is really what college football is about, being able to travel somewhere close and go to a game. And if anything, John, making it accessible to students who we know is broke. It's a lot easier to jump in the car and drive somewhere for, 3-4 hours, 10 hours. I would like it to be something like that because it'll be when students can travel to the games, it's a lot better. So for me, of course, Texas, you got to have Red River down in, the State Fair. That's going to definitely be there. Arkansas to me is one that will be awesome because it's only an hour 45 from Tulsa, right? Maybe 3 hours from the Oklahoma City Metroplex, 3.5 from Norman. So it's not a hard drive. Take 40 out to Fort Smith, go north up to Fayetteville, or you can take 44 and go across 412. So there's a lot of options to get to Arkansas. And I think LSU would be fun because the last 2 years we've had Thanksgiving games. We don't have a Thanksgiving opponent anymore because Oklahoma State does not have any open slots until like 2030 something. Why not just go ahead and build something today with LSU? I like that. I think it would be fun to build something new as we go into the new era of college football civilization. So that's one that jumps out to me. I'm anticipating us getting Missouri just because of the old Big 8. No Arkansas, and probably someone cross country like, I think it was Pat Smith that posted on social media that it was Florida, Missouri, and Texas is what the anticipation was back when they originally were looking at the 9-game schedule when Oklahoma and Texas first joined. So Florida just feels like it feels far. And I understand that it's for recruiting, but I didn't know if you knew this, John, but Louisiana has these like really big dudes that play on the interior, especially on the defensive line that we try to go after. Like, wouldn't that be dope to be able to go there every other year, play in their home state and let them be able to have their family come close? I'm just, thinking outside of the box here.
Yeah. Oklahoma's going to recruit Florida well, regardless of whether they play in the state of Florida or not. See Oklahoma's recruiting since Brent Venables has gotten here. They've recruited Florida well. They've got a nice little pipeline developing with IMG Academy, and that will continue to grow as well. So, Jay, whatever they do, we're going to get Texas. I think both you and I think they're going to get Missouri. And I think there's like an outside shot at maybe in Arkansas, but I feel like Arkansas is going to end up with like Texas, LSU, and Missouri.
Most likely.
And
Close
so,
games, weird.
So I think it's going to be Texas, Missouri, and then something else. But what do you think is going to happen with the other 6 games? Do you think Oklahoma is going to kind of get a fair shake when it comes to the schedule? Or do you think that the SEC is going to kind of have their sights set on making sure Texas is good for the long term and sticking Oklahoma with like going to Athens and Baton Rouge and playing in the Red River Showdown and going to Gainesville all in the same year in 2026?
So I do. So to me, I kind of anticipating them flipping the schedule.
Okay.
I do think that we're going to end up that, but at the same time, what does that mean? We'll play Georgia. We're going to play Florida, who should be both pretty good next season. All right, this season they should be solid. Next season be even better. Lagway will be in his third year, so that's when you really see a big jump for most quarterbacks is their third year as the starting quarterback. So you're gonna get Florida, you're gonna get Georgia. But the question is, will we see a Kentucky? Will we see a Mississippi State who, third year under Levy should get better, I guess, if they get a quarterback? We'll figure out what that looks like. Will you get them? Will you get Vanderbilt, right? No Diego Pavia, he'll be gone. Do you get Vanderbilt next year? That to me is the big question is, will we see Arkansas like we didn't get them last year? Will we get Arkansas this time if they're not part of our top three? I'm curious to see how that is finagled because it does feel like there's a very good chance that we still have some really tough games overall, and our strength of schedule doesn't adjust that much. Now, I think with Kentucky, with possibly Mississippi State, with Vanderbilt, that can kind of give you a little bit of ease. But, yeah, Florida's going to be solid. So is Georgia. We're probably going to see LSU. I just have a feeling it's going to be LSU. But if it's not, I'll put it this way. If Florida ends up one of our three, LSU probably is going to be part of that 6-game schedule. So no matter what, it's going to be an SEC schedule. It's going to be tough. The question is, will we get Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Mississippi State and Arkansas to be able to have a little bit of potential confidence going in the game?
It's Oklahoma, man. We're going to play tough games regardless. You're going to have a tough schedule now. You're not going to have you'll have Michigan next year. You'll go up to Ann Arbor. That'll be a tough non-conference game. And the SEC slate is just going to be difficult. That's just the reality of being in the SEC. But that's part of the reason Oklahoma wanted to get into the SEC. They wanted marquee matchups on a regular basis, not games where they're having to carry all of the storyline, where they're having to carry all of the advertising, exposure and all that stuff. They wanted marquee matchups like this. Welcome. We got it. It's coming.
Got it. Quick question. Do you think that we'll get 5 home games or 4 home games next year?
That'll be fascinating to see because
Red River will be flipped, so we'll be the home team in that one. Will we get the 5 to where we'll get 4 home, 4 away? Or will we end up with 3 home and 5 away next year? Now, I know that they're going to consider that as well because with Georgia, it's the exact same thing with them in Florida because they have that neutral site game as well. That kind of takes away from it. So I'm wondering how they're going to play that game. That to me is good. And Arkansas, Texas A&M. That's also a neutral site game. So I'm kind of curious how they finagle that component of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because, again, going to 9 conference games, I mean, you're going to have a season maybe where you are shorted on the home games.
Unless they guarantee it's always
shorted on the literally in Owen Field or on Owen Field home games, where you'll only still have 4. But
you'll have recruits.
It's going to be 5 and 4 somehow, some way. You're going to get 4 on the road, 4 at home, and then that neutral site game is going to be that 5th one that's home and away, depending on the year. So I think they'll always have 4 home games in conference.
Yes. But the question is, will they be at Owen Field or not?
Yeah.
Because of Texas.
Well, you're going to be playing 9 games.
Right. But that's the thing. There is a possibility because next year we're the home team in Red River. There's a chance that we would have the 4 home games, one of those home games being in Texas and the other 3, and then the other 5 games all being on the road.
Yeah.
See what I mean? That's what I'm curious how they're going to figure it.
They need to treat that really independent of the rest of it, in my opinion.
They should. I agree. And that's why I mentioned.
We'll see. Texas and Oklahoma
Georgia
should get 4 and 4.
Yeah. Same thing with Georgia and Florida. Same thing with Arkansas, A&M. They should all have 4 and 4. But and then with the one neutral site in the middle. But some teams will still have 5 home games and at their home stadium outside of us, like Tennessee and all of that.
Because to me, that would be the thing that screws Oklahoma more than anything.
Exactly. That's where this comes in.
Okay. If you were cutting one home slate from Oklahoma's revenue, that sucks. Pardon my language for all the kids listening, but that one really stinks. Like,
bad.
Yeah. So I don't imagine that they're going into this thing thinking that one like Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, or Texas A&M will only get 3 actual home dates. I've got to believe that Red River, the world's greatest outdoor or world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and was it the Texas Classic, are considered in all of that, to where all those teams are going to get 4 home games, 4 away games, and then that neutral site game is included, like is their 9th game, right? Like they're going to schedule it out where it's 4, and then you have your neutral site game. Otherwise, those teams get screwed out of a home gate that is a lot of revenue for them, and their cities are screwed out of a home date that is a large amount of their revenue per annum. So I got to believe that's the case. So this has been an extended conversation that we probably went a little bit too long on, but it'll definitely bear watching as we get to December and the SEC releases those schedules for 2026, but it'll be something certainly to watch. Josh Pate dropped his record predictions for the SEC. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So like me, I'm looking at my Buccaneers taking that NFC South, and I'm definitely looking at that futures. Or heck, I'm a betting man. I would not be surprised if Lamar Jackson go ahead and takes that MVP once again, just because statistically he'll probably do something crazy. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Josh Pate of the Josh Pate College Football Show dropped his season predictions for the SEC, and the Oklahoma Sooners came in at 8-4.
Interesting, and it's funny because he said on his show that he also put a nice sum of money on John Mateer to win the Heisman Trophy. So in his mind, it appears that Mateer is going to go crazy, put up ridiculous numbers, so ridiculous that he ends up taking home the Heisman Trophy. But Oklahoma doesn't win enough games unless he believes Oklahoma gets into the playoffs at 8-4. And that's a little far-fetched to believe. I know that everyone's still very much on this schedule and believe that the schedule is going to be super tough and that it's going to be very much impossible to overcome. I don't think it's going to be impossible to overcome, but I digress. 8-4 is a very interesting prediction for Oklahoma. He also threw out, he got Texas sitting at, you got Alabama 10-2, Texas 10-2. You got Florida at 9-3. Their schedule is just as tough, but it appears that he believes that their schedule, they'll have the ability to overcome with Georgia at 9-3. That one to me is interesting. He is down on them and LSU, who will also tie us with South Carolina at 8-4. I'm going to actually have the question, John. He has 6 teams at 8-4. Is that statistically possible?
It is. I remember I ran through this a few weeks ago. There's a great college football playoff predictor out there.
I've been playing with that as well.
Yeah, and you could end up with quite a few 8-4, 9-3s if certain things fall the way they fall. I mean, you're going to have a lot of this beaten up on each other sort of a situation. And this year in particular, I think it's so wide open that there's going to be a lot of the SEC eating itself. And that's why some of the college football playoff committee guidance on strength of schedule is going to be so important as November rolls into December, because you're going to have some 9-3 teams that are going to have to be in the discussion, because a team like Florida or Oklahoma could be really good and be some of the best teams in the country. But a team like Oklahoma, what if they lose to Texas? What if they lose on the road at South Carolina and lose to Alabama on the road, but they come away with wins against Tennessee on the road? They beat Michigan. They beat LSU. I mean, you're going to have some really quality wins and maybe even some quality losses that you're going to have a serious discussion about this team. What if Texas goes 10-2, week 1, loses to Ohio State, loses to Oklahoma in the Red River Showdown? I mean, that's still going to be very much a playoff team, but those 9-3 teams, some of those 8-4 teams are going to have some serious consideration, because again, the strength of schedule is so crazy, but it's so wide open this year that, again, I think you're going to have some 10-2 representation in the SEC title game. You're going to have some 9-3 teams pushing for playoff spots.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have that, especially with, like you said, the way that the SEC will most likely cannibalize each other. Mm-hmm. And because there's a lot of quote unquote refreshing and rebuilding happening in the SEC this year. A lot of newer quarterbacks. We've reminded you all this a few times, especially in Oklahoma's schedule. So having a lot of new quarterbacks, that usually leads to a little bit more chaos. It leads to opportunities for things to not go the right way. When you have a veteran and you're consistent on it, then things usually are a lot easier to predict. So, but him having a big log jam at 8-4 is kind of fascinating. But having Florida going 9-3, that means they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think Georgia makes it in at 9-3 unless they beat Texas and Alabama. I guess for me, I'm wondering, I need to go watch and see if he provides us who the wins and the losses are, like which teams, to help determine if it's viable. Because to me, as we talked about on the SEC Squad Show, the SEC's opportunity to get 5 teams in is for Florida or Oklahoma to be one of that 15 at that 9-3. That means that you can't have Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas being that good. Like, somebody's got to fall off. I do think Vanderbilt's going to end up being better than people expect. I think Diego Pavia's got it, and I think their defense is going to be a lot more solid this year, with Clark Lee passing the mantle on to one of his young assistants. But yeah, you're going to need a lot more. You're going to need a lot more teams faltering if you want to get 5 teams into the turning.
Yeah, because I don't think you get multiple 9-3 teams. I think you could get one 9-3 team, and I think that could be Oklahoma or Florida. But yeah, man, it's gonna be really interesting, because there is a lot of competition, and it's not a stretch to consider the fact that you have several 9-3 teams, or only one 11-1 team, or multiple 10-2s, or even. It's going to be one of those years that we look up in November and you're going to have like 8 teams in the college football playoff hunt going into the final stretch, because you're going to have a couple, most of those teams with 2, maybe 1 loss. Mm-hmm. And how the last month of the season goes is going to determine who represents the SEC in the playoff. And I think Oklahoma could very well be sitting there on November 1, getting ready to start that final stretch with 1 or 2, just 2 losses.
Yeah.
And they'd have to go 4-0, or they'd have to go 3-1 to make it to the playoff. But there's a very real possibility that they could be in that mix.
I agree with you there. And it's funny when I look at the fact that he has no one going either undefeated or anyone only going out with 1 loss. 10-2 is probably going to be your new 11-1. Get used to losing games. It's going to happen every single year going forward, especially with the way that all of this has been set up as far as the conference realignments. Teams are going to lose games. So freaking out, the question is never about if you lose games. It's about who you lose those games to, and how you lose those games. If you lose those games close, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt from the committee every single time. They're going to look at your strength of schedule and say, okay, they lost to a last-second field goal. That's the way you're going to want to lose. Of course, that's way more heartbreaking as a fan, but it's way more optimal when it comes to trying to get into the playoffs. So I hope everybody's prepared for that, John, because I don't think fans are ready for and ready to understand that that's just kind of going to be the new normal going forward.
Yeah, it's parity. Parity is here. You see it in the NFL. You don't see a lot of 15-1, 16-0 teams at the end of the regular season. Teams are going to get beat up on. They're going to lose games that maybe they shouldn't, or they're going to lose games to really good competition because of a break here and there. For Oklahoma, it's out there in front of you, man. They have a great opportunity to make a lot of noise this year. It's going to be tough. They've got a tough slate, but they're certainly capable of doing what they need to do to be in the playoff mix at the end of the season. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, for more college football and Oklahoma Sooners coverage. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. We're going to do a new thing this season as we go through the 2025 schedule. Brent Venables speaks every Tuesday around 11 o'clock. We're going to go live here on Locked On Sooners to provide instant reaction to the press conference, what he had to say, hit some of the high notes right away, and then we'll talk a little bit further about what he had to say, any key injury updates, players that he's talking about later on in our Wednesday show. And we'll also be live after every single game this year, breaking down what happened in each of Oklahoma Sooners matchups in 2025. So again, we're going to be live for a lot of big time moments here on Locked On Sooners. So hit that subscribe button and be a part of the chat every time we go live. Follow us at Locked On Sooners on all your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you next time. Boomer
Sooner. We'll see what this looks like.
College football is
back, baby.